The National Association of Realtors' $418 million settlement is set to initiate major changes to the real estate market. Here to discuss the implications for buyers and sellers, let's welcome Joseph Klosik, owner and broker in charge of Keller Williams Realty Charleston. Joseph, we're very happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
We've been hearing, major changes. Can you kind of put in perspective and context what this settlement is?
So it's, first and foremost, it's just a settlement proposal at this point. So it's important to understand that we don't know how this will eventually turn out. But if it does, it's basically a settlement that is telling us how the only change I should say locally that it has on us is it's giving us perspective and guiding us on how we can advertise commissions. Okay. Currently, as it's written, we are able, if I list a home and I negotiate a commission with my seller, and then I'm going to offer out a certain amount of that commission to a buyer's agent. I would typically do that through the MLS. That is no longer, that is something that the settlement would not allow us to do. So the MLS will not give us the ability to then advertise that commission through the MLS. We can still advertise it through other means. It's just saying that it is not something that we have to do, that we can do through the MLS from agent to agent. Okay, so we've been hearing a lot about commissions, and that it's this big, massive change. So that's not the case. No, it's not. I mean, the commission discussion is almost like trying to hug a cactus. Like you're just going to. We have to be careful on that when we're doing it. But it does not. The settlement itself does not say anything about how commissions are paid, who pays them, or how much it is. That has been and always will be a negotiated item between the consumer and the agent that they hire. So the settlement actually has nothing, that says nothing about what's to be charged. It actually does say that we can continue to do it the way that we are, and also making sure that we understand that it is 100% negotiable. It always has been. What led to the settlement? Transparency. This started in a state that's not South Carolina, right? And South Carolina has always had very progressive documents. Our listing agreements, our buyer agency agreements have always been fully disclosing how commissions are paid. What the allegations were, I should say, in the original lawsuit was that there was a conspiracy amongst agents to fix pricing, which is absolutely not what was happening. What we needed, though, was more transparency for the consumer to understand how commissions are paid, right? So that's kind of what led to the initial lawsuit. Like I said, in the state of South Carolina, there are really no procedural changes that will have to happen because our community has already been kind of way ahead of the curve as it relates to disclosing those. Our listing agreements clearly state, first of all, that it's negotiable, who pays it, how it's paid, and then if it is split between the buyer and listing agent and the buyer's agent. Same thing with our buyer agency agreement. It specifically states how I'm going to get paid if I'm representing you, and how that's all spelled out. Is that common practice among most states, or is South Carolina an outlier in that? As far as how the contracts are written? I can't speak specifically to states, but it's my understanding that we're actually only one of a handful of states that have particularly buyer agency agreements that are required, and then also have it spelled out as much as possible how the commission is paid and to whom. So as far as South Carolina goes, there will not be these major changes that we're hearing? There's really not. It's a very disruptive decision, so we can't really tamper that in any way, shape, or form. But really the only big change that comes is the MLS is no longer allowed to have a field where I can tell the world if I'm going to be paying commission to the buyer's agent and how much that is. The other requirements from the settlement are having a buyer agency agreement if you're representing a buyer. Well, check, South Carolina already does that, right? Fully disclosing the commission if you are representing a buyer. It needs to be spelled out exactly how I'm getting paid and who pays it. Check, we already have that in our contracts. And then on the listing side, from a seller standpoint, if you hire me, I have to fully disclose what you're paying, what we've negotiated for you to pay, how that's going to be split. Check, we already have those in our contracts as well. Now, do you think that this could lead to other bigger changes in the future? I'm sure that there will be. I'm sure there's always every industry is going to change and progress in some way, shape, or form. I can't really speak to what that looks like. I know there's a lot of discussion about transparency. I think as long as we remain to be transparent and that we catch up with that in the states that need to catch up with that, I don't see a need for that. But it's also hard to predict, what would come in the future from that standpoint. Absolutely. And now, Joseph, where can our viewers go to learn more about you? About me? Well, gosh, I guess I'm old school. The best way would be to email me, Joseph, my first name, joseph@kw.com is really the best way to get a hold of me, or just give me a call. Okay, perfect, Joseph. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Absolutely. We're back after this.